Welcome back to Jealous Podcast. I'm really lucky to have Sam sitting with me this morning.
Oh, no, I'm lucky to be sitting next to you, Mackenzie.
I miss this.
This is good.
We haven't done this in a while together, and I miss it.
That's why we need to do it more often.
We do need to do it more often, and I can't wait for the podcast you and I know John are gonna release here the next.
I know we gotta story that one out.
You need to have a big whiteboard session for that. God, is there anything better than a big whiteboard session?
A whiteboard session with pizza.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Still a whiteboard session, but add more to it.
Yeah, and maybe alcohol.
Yes, absolutely.
Fine. Well,
that's brainstorming. That's creativity.
We had a really fun episode today. Ginnie Coleman, you brought her in.
Yeah, I brought Ginnie in. She's a freelance photographer, but mainly shoots a lot of stuff for, Waukee High School. But I brought her in because she's one of those people who's been in like the CrossFit and powerlifting space in terms of making content for that sport for a while now. And she sees it grows and everything. And I've always had a jealousy of like her eye for photography and stuff and what her process is. And so brought her on and we had a great conversation.
She was really interesting. She had a lot of great advice to give, especially for maybe young creatives who are just getting into it, because she started freelance and that's what she's done the whole time, which is pretty incredible. I mean, you don't usually find what you're good at and then get to.
Well, and it's a very similar story I think a lot of creatives have, where you just kind of like say, yeah, I'll go shoot this. And then you kind of, and like the ball just keeps growing and growing and growing. And now it's your business.
Yeah. Yeah. She's really cool. There was at one part of the conversation, she talked about finding an old camera. And I recently found an old camera with all my college stuff. Oh. And I found an old SD card with all my old college stuff.
Did you plug it in?
No. I threw it directly into the trash. I know it was from spring break, and I threw it away.
I would plug that in immediately.
You would do that to yourself?
Yeah.
I guess.
That's called growth.
Our college experiences were different. I don't want to go back to that place. It was dark.
No, I loved college. I
did too. Maybe a little too much. Because I also found a belly button ring next to the SD card that I threw away. Lime green. I am a different person.
This was indicative of the times.
Dear God, I know. I'm like, this is basically, I found a time capsule from 2000, what, 8?
That was spring break for you? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Panama City Beach. They don't even allow alcohol on the beach anymore to prevent hoodlums like myself. And my
guys causing a ruckus.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I just want to kick it off before we get into Ginny's episode. Who are you jealous of this week?
First off, I have two. All right.
All right.
First one, Charlie Puth.
Okay. Why?
So he released a song called Light Switch. And if you follow Charlie Puth on TikTok,
he's funny.
Dude, he's hilarious. You also see him write the entire song Light Switch through TikTok.
You think he actually wrote it through
TikTok? Yeah. He has writing credits for other artists.
I know he's an incredible songwriter, singer, the whole shebang. And yeah, he's funny, but you think he actually wrote it on TikTok?
No, I don't think he wrote the full thing on TikTok.
I'm not trying to,
but he does document.
Okay.
He's like, "Oh, what if the drums sound like this?" And then he does it. And I'm like, "This dude's a musical genius."
No, he is really good.
And then really good. Second one is for other people who are hype men, Dude Perfect.
Dude Perfect.
Yeah, so their YouTube channel where they just do trick shots on YouTube.
John's nodding.
No, and not for watching their channel. I've been listening to podcasts about how they're successful, because I think it was only up until about their channel's maybe 10 years old. It was only up until about 5 years ago that their channel was profitable for them to quit their jobs. So they were getting
that's a good lesson.
They were doing multi-million view videos while working construction. So I'm listening to a podcast from NPR right now.
So what do they do then?
They just do trick hey, you want to shoot a basketball into a hoop inside Dallas Cowboys Stadium? They did that.
Isn't it interesting what people care?
But it's such easily consumable content, and
I'm not against it. We need anything right now to distract us from this.
From the world.
Yeah, all of this. Just you can point anywhere and there's something that you need to be distracted
Somebody's mind's about to pop.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. That's a great lesson in, if you love what you're doing and maybe you're not seeing results right away, stay at it, because I mean, man, so they're just what, billionaires, millionaires now?
No, I don't know about million. I mean, they make a living.
They make money.
They have a tour.
Okay.
They go on tour.
Anytime there's a tour involved.
They're granted. All right, if you think about their demos anywhere from like 3 to 15. So your boys will probably be interested in Dude Perfect at some point. But they're wholesome men.
Okay, good.
All right.
That's good.
They are good influences.
I don't need any shady characters teaching my kids.
Yeah, Jeff's already there.
Jeff's already. I love you. Those are good. Shelby from our office actually reminded me of this one. I'm jealous of Kim Kardashian, not because she's dating Pete Davidson, although I get it.
The definition of a dude out kicking his coverage.
But really, I mean, he's talented.
No, really.
He's talented. He's funny.
He is.
I mean, she's not the first A-list celebrity he's been with.
I don't know why it's
Kate Beckinsale.
Him and Pete Davidson and Post Malone for some reason. I look at them and those dudes just have a musk.
You can't.
Those dudes dudes just have an odor to them.
Yeah,
and they probably bathe.
Did you see the Ghost Hunters or whatever haunting show that Post Malone was on?
No.
They played back the audio of the ghost and it was like, smells like shit.
That tracks.
Oh man. She and her company Skims, which if you are familiar, it's like shapewear that women can wear underneath their clothes or loungewear.
I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, so she partnered with the Summer Olympics 2020 and provided the U.S. Women's team with that, and she's also doing that for the Winter Olympics, which are coming up in the next 2 weeks. So hate on her all you want. She's a business woman.
No, I don't hate on Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian is a successful entrepreneur.
She is a successful entrepreneur. I mean, she got into the business a little bit, but I mean, we've all done things.
Liz, she started her career and her business ventures in what some might call a questionable way, but she's capitalized.
She has capitalized.
We make fun of her, but she's got millions in the bank.
She does, and she's smart. I mean, I don't know, she's got that.
We meme her.
Yeah,
but money in the bank.
Money in the bank. So yeah, I guess that's a good segue to get into the episode.
I'm sure Kim Kardashian knows more about business than any of us ever will.
She does, and she's going to be not just a business woman, but a law woman.
She passed the baby bar.
The baby bar.
Now she's got to get the big bar. I believe in her.
Me too. I believe in you, Kim.
You do you, boo.
That's right. All right. Enjoy the episode, you guys. Thanks, Sam.
Bye.
Bye.
It's all a matter of perspective at that point.
Well, Ginny, welcome to Jealous Podcast.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So excited. You did a little research before you came on, huh?
I did. I'm a research gal. I wanted to know what the podcast was about and kind of the precept, and so it was really informative. I love what you guys have done so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun. The concept it's been a fun one. It's been a fun one to evolve, but just to get down to it, Sam's really, really jealous of you. And it's been tearing the office apart.
I don't know about that. I mean, you guys just keep getting mad at Aaron and I talking about CrossFit, and then I brought somebody affiliated with CrossFit.
And we're like, what are you doing? Are you trying to split this office in half?
Oh, so you have some
It's not even in half. It's just me and Aaron against the world.
We're trying to get more people.
So you have some pro CrossFitters and some non-fans of
CrossFit. Huh?
I think we have pro CrossFitters and then no one else knows what the hell we're talking about. So we're just
no, that's exactly what it is. They're just like, cool. Stop talking.
Well, they say that CrossFit is a cult that nobody can ever stop talking about CrossFit.
It really is.
There's so many memes about that.
Like you keep talking about it, and then you get a shoe addiction. You keep just buying new CrossFit shoes.
Although let's just say that the Nano 2 is the best shoe ever made, and nobody will ever.
I wasn't around for that era.
Oh, that's too bad.
I'm already gone. You've already lost me. The train is on the track, and I'm back at the station.
It's a Reebok shoe. I'm not supposed to say Reebok. No.
No, it is technically a Reebok shoe.
It is a Reebok shoe, and it's really the best CrossFit shoe ever.
No, but Ginny, I wanted to bring you in because we had met before. I think the first time I saw you was the Justin Martin competition.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Shooting that one. And I was like, oh, what's she doing? And I saw you like just strapped to the nines with cameras. And then I slowly started seeing you at like high school events and saw your Instagram page. And I was like, oh man, Ginny's a really good photographer. And then I was like seeing you at the bigger events too, at the games and at Wadapalooza and all the big CrossFit events. So I wanted to bring you in because I've been jealous of like your eye for photography and just what got you into that space? Because I feel like you're in a space that is really growing right now in terms of like everybody's trying to jump in on the CrossFit train in terms of content creation, and you were kind of there at the start. So for people who don't know you, first introduce yourself.
Yes, who are you?
Well, my name's Ginnie Coleman. I'm just a freelance photographer based in Waukee. And I travel for a lot of, as you said, CrossFit affiliated, not necessarily CrossFit affiliated, but events that are CrossFit based. You know, CrossFit is extremely, as they should be, protective of their name. So that's why a lot of the events are named, you know, Just a Memorial Competition or the CF Circus. Or, I got my start by happenstance, actually. And so I was going to a CrossFit gym here, and Luke and Abby Ryland went to have a big event, and I said, hey, I've taken pictures for a long time. I'd like to come do it. So I did, and then a few months later, Pure Pharma, who happened to be a sponsor at CrossFit Regionals, that year contacted me and asked if I would come shoot, and that's how I got my start. It was luck, and you're right, at that time, there was one woman on the CrossFit Games media staff as a photographer.
Very cool. What were you taking photos of before CrossFit?
I just outdoors, nature, architecture. I learned from my grandfather, and it's very cliche, but he loved to take pictures. But his was to prove how big of a fish he caught. I grew up in Wyoming, so that
A lot of big fish out there in Wyoming.
Oh, big trout, yeah. So that's kind of where I got my start, and I've just always loved, outdoors. In fact, I was laughing that I was looking into some of my storage, and my first digital camera was a Sony Mavica 2 megapixel, and it had these round discs like about this big.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how I got my start, which, nowadays phone cameras are significantly better than that really expensive
I remember
Sony Mavica.
at my first job at a newspaper, I was like searching through drawers and finding like old cameras and stuff, and I found like a really old SD card. 512 megabytes, which like holds nothing.
That'd be 2 pictures on my new camera. I don't know.
Not even. That'd be like half a picture. Like just seeing how technology with cameras has changed is incredible.
Oh yeah.
So what was the moment for you that like said like, I'm going to be a photographer? Like where was the, like, who put the camera in your hand first? And how did you progress?
Okay, well, honestly, my first camera was when I was a senior in high school. It was a little film Fuji. So, and then there were years where I just didn't really take pictures. I think when I first got married when I first got married, there was nothing. But then when I got pregnant with my first child,
oh yeah,
I wanted to.
Every mom gets a camera. Every mom becomes a photographer.
But I mean, I'm going to be honest. I didn't get the Sony Mavica for that. I got it for a 6th row half court Laker playoff game.
Hey.
Nice. Nice.
That was during that. I wanted a picture of Shaq and Kobe, like sneakily.
Oh, hell yeah.
You can say it in the baby book that it was for
it was
baby.
Yeah, I wanted the babies to know that I was at that game.
That's true. That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's an embarrassing moment. What you didn't know. Not supposed to take professional cameras into an event venue.
It's fine.
If you walk, if there's one thing I learned in news, I was like, if you walk with enough confidence with the camera, nobody questions you.
Yeah.
And you've taught me that since I've been here, and I've done it a few times, and I'm like, that actually works. So, hi.
Yeah. Unless you're at a CrossFit event where they have media policy.
No, yeah, exactly.
Really,
there's some places where it doesn't work, but if you walk with enough confidence, like half the time, like that's how I was able to shoot at the Kentucky Derby.
Nice.
Well, you were there for your old job.
No, yeah, I was there for 13, but our media passes did not allow us on the track with the Abaugh family.
Oh my goodness.
And it was a moment where like Michael Admire just told me like, hey, just step with them. And so we get in the car and I'm just camera on my shoulder, giant ENG camera. And then we're walking on the track with the Abaugh family. I'm like, I'm definitely not supposed to be here.
Would. He would. So I have 2 questions, one for you and one for you.
Okay.
How did you get started with CrossFit anyway?
So I was a marathon runner, and I was getting ready to do the Chicago Marathon, and I was having some serious IT band issues.
Okay.
So I had to come home and actually have IT band surgery, which I don't recommend, but they don't do often. I've come to find out. And so
you were just lucky.
I was just lucky. I'm so lucky. And they were telling me that I needed to relearn how I ran. Like I wasn't, my mechanics weren't right. And so something about building up my quads and my hamstrings, and somebody said, oh, you should try CrossFit. So I did. And you drink the Kool-Aid. And when they say it's cultish, they're not lying. You get in there and it's just fantastic. And so I fell in love with it.
What about you, Sam? How did you get on this?
It was actually, so CrossFit, before the whole change in 2018, they were producing their own documentaries and a lot of their own media rather than external forces. And so they had made like 3 documentaries about like the CrossFit games and this one particular guy, Rich Froning. And I remember watching those documentaries and I was like blown away by the filmmaking, the production, the storytelling of it all. And they made one specific point in one of the documentaries, like if you watch the CrossFit Games, this is like the apex of the sport. Like these are the people that are insane. Now here's like where you're walking into your normal box at a CrossFit gym. You're walking in there and you see the normal people there. Like you see your everyday people from like teachers, CEOs, janitors, like anybody there is a normal person, and it's just a different training methodology that's also very community based, which I was missing after being a college athlete. Like I needed that community and I needed people around me. I don't work out well by myself. So that's how I got into it. And then I was just like following all the CrossFit content.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. 2 very different points of entry for both of you. That's cool.
But he makes a really great point that is important to understand about CrossFit is the community base, but the adaptability. You know, I just came back from that big event, Wadapalooza, where I was fortunate to be part of their official media team. And, you know, you have adaptive and you have scaled and you have intermediate. So it's really, truly for anyone. So you can walk into any CrossFit gym and you can be in a wheelchair, or you can be, you know, you can have one arm, or you can, you know, have some mental limitations, and they will adapt the program and involve you in the community in a way that makes you feel like you're an elite athlete. And I firmly believe that you can go to pretty much any CrossFit gym in the country and have that exact same feeling.
Yeah, that's really
cool. Or at least that's what I've experienced.
Yeah, because the gym, I think a lot of people, for myself especially, that's one of the most intimidating places to go because you don't know. I don't know the equipment. I don't know, you know, so it's nice to hear that.
And I think they're very good too about as an overall like community aspect of saying like everybody's starting somewhere. Like nobody, if you walk into a CrossFit gym and say like, hey, this is my first day, everybody's going to be very supportive that you decided to take that first step into the gym, as opposed to like you walk into some like huge Globo gym or something and then you're curling in the squat rack and then there's some bro there who's yoked out of his mind who's pissed that you're curling in the squat rack because you shouldn't be curling in the squat rack.
Honestly, my biggest fear is using something wrong and someone being like, hey, idiot, that's not how you do that. I have to move to Mexico.
Let's just say you might get made fun of doing curls at a CrossFit gym.
Nah, man. Thursdays at DSM Performance is bro day. It's curls for the girls.
No, they do that. What is it? I think they do what? Thigh day? Is that? I think that might be a
Probably.
Friday.
Thick thighs save lives.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I always say I didn't get these quads for nothing.
So throughout the years, then you've photographed all these different CrossFit events. I feel like you have such a diversity of portfolio in terms of sports as well. You've shot Iowa State football, basketball, powerlifting, CrossFit, high school sports. Like what was it about sports photography right now that's drawn you so much?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily sport. I think it's just movement based. And I could really go off on a tangent, not a tangent, but just my love about how impressive it is to see what our bodies are capable of. I love being able to highlight that in imagery. I mean, I love watching body movement, and it almost gets me giddy when I'm at it can be a high school football game. I'm like, did you see that guy's free throw? Like his hands, the position. I mean, it's the way I'll use my hands a lot, but it's the way our bodies move, and being able to capture that actually really brings me a lot of joy.
That's cool. You should see me move through Target. Like that would be beautiful.
But it is, and it's even when I'm looking at pictures post event, and I'm like. I'm awed that people, in a lot of these sports or activities give people an ability to highlight how great it is that our bodies can do these kind of things. I mean, I was at the Arnold's last year as their media partner and watching I can't remember his first name, but he goes by the Vanilla Gorilla. But he was squatting.
What a name!
Oh, and it's funny because he's out of Gillette, Wyoming, and he had posted something. I'm like, "You're from Wyoming?" And he said, "Yeah, that's where my brother and sister-in-law live." But he was back squatting over 1,100 pounds, and I'm literally 5 feet from him, just watching. I almost couldn't photograph because I was so in awe of what his body was doing that. I get really excited.
That's cool. I mean,
about it.
True.
I love it.
We are capable of amazing things,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't know it unless we.
I think that's such an interesting take though, because like I've heard other like filmmakers, directors, and stuff, like Zack Snyder, who did Justice League. He's done a bunch of other movies and stuff. If you watch his movies, he's so into like the geometry and how bodies look on camera. That's why everybody in his movies are just also jacked and yoked. That's why he does superhero movies too, though, because like superheroes tend to be like the ultimate, I guess, idea of like what we want bodies to look like and like what we want power to look like as well. So like the way you talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, all right, that totally makes sense now.
Yeah, I think, and I really like to discount the idea that there's a certain body type that promotes fitness or strength or ability to move. One of the things I say it all the time is I believe all bodies are beautiful. I don't care what size you are. I don't care, that you fit the typical, what society deems as the perfect body physique. We are all created with a physique that when in movement can be photographed beautifully. And that's what I really love about it. So I don't go into I don't pick specific sports. I just think, hey, whenever I get a chance to photograph movement, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would love to photograph, like there's some other things. I would love to photograph fencing. I would love to photograph lacrosse. I mean, there's a lot of things I would
You can get into lacrosse right now. There's a club team between Waukee and Valley.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, I was on it in high school.
Yeah.
Sam, you're just full of secrets. I didn't know that about you.
So yeah, I mean, that's like this year, the bowling team asked me to do, their schedule poster. And when they came in, they just were standing there. I'm like, oh, no, we're not just doing you standing here. You show me some of your moves.
Yes.
And that's how so I don't know if you ever saw the Waukee bowling poster that I posted on my Instagram, but we're going to highlight that you're doing something pretty because I suck at bowling.
Oh, man.
So I'm always
Tell me about it.
Dude, we had our Christmas party at the new Spare Time over on Jordan Creek.
Oh, okay.
And
Beautiful space. By the way.
great
I
space.
haven't been there yet.
Does not highlight our bowling capabilities.
No. Well, I mean, it's a beautiful space, but I have issues with that far lane. It's not a reflection of me and my talent.
It's the lane.
Definitely the lane. Something's off keel.
Yeah. So for you then in this space of trying to photograph and create content for these excelling sports and growing sports between powerlifting and CrossFit, what's it like for you to be like, I know you've been in it probably longer than a lot of other people, but what's it like for you to still see like the growing interest in some of these new sports?
Well, I think it's great because, especially coming from a district, you look at kids start all of these activities in high school generally, and even younger now with all these club teams. And as you know, we have some very big school districts, and unfortunately that doesn't always equate to full-size sports teams. They have to limit. And so a lot of these kids aren't getting opportunities. So the more opportunities for sports programs like a lacrosse or fencing or something different, it gives, young kids an ability to do some kind of sport. And so it's going to continue to grow and evolve. And I love seeing that. I love seeing that more people are taking an interest, CrossFit. I think the growth has been exponential in the last 10 years. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward with it. But you'll also see some new things come out, and it'll be great when they do. I love seeing different opportunities for people to move their body.
Awesome. So how many events, like big events, have you shot then?
A lot. I think, I've shot the CrossFit Games, did a couple of regionals as a vendor photographer, and then I've shot Wadapalooza, Granite Games, West Coast Classic.
Were you at West Coast Classic this past year?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was, oh my gosh, I don't know how people live in Las Vegas in the summer.
Dude, it was in Vegas. They did one event. It was a ruck run. So they're running with like weighted backpacks and stuff.
Yeah. We had to change the
casual.
time on that because that week, Las Vegas, when I flew in, they were literally on the cusp of a record-breaking 116 degrees. If it would have gotten to 117.
Brutal.
So where they had the venue, you had to walk through kind of a breezeway, and it felt like you were in a high-capacity blow dryer. It was. I'm so glad we were in.
Or it's like probably the most comparable thing is like in the Midwest when it's like a hot summer day and you have to go shoot something on turf. And it's like you just feel like you're baking in the sun.
We had that twice in a row this year. So we had it at the Granite Games when, it was great. In fact, I was telling people from Florida to bring their winter coats because they're not used to 60-degree days. And then all of a sudden, Minneapolis had this 100-degree weekend. And so we were at the Vikings training facility for the Granite Games. And, they have a beautiful turf, beautiful campus. And they had to delay the start one night because the turf temperature was 152, like the heat coming off was 152 degrees. Gosh. So they said we got to change the time, but they did for the ruck run at West Coast Classic too, because it was so hot, and that was a really challenging, because they changed weights every time they came in, so the weight got heavier and heavier. No, so
I would not survive.
I wouldn't survive.
You're so passionate about this.
That's where that carrying 20 pounds of gear comes into question when it's
what do your kids say about like, oh yeah, hey, mom's just going to go shoot this sweet event. Like,
mom's a badass.
Yeah. Because I feel like at some point kids always think like, my mom's just whatever.
I don't think
like dad's just. Nah.
I don't know what he does. He does something. She does something.
She has a camera.
I don't know. I don't know if they really. I mean, my older boys, the only thing they say is because their high school. I'm not going to call him out because he'll know who it is, but their high school coach was not a big fan of CrossFit, so they always say how bad CrossFit is.
Oh, man.
And it's a cult, and people. So
so is wrestling in the state, but we don't say anything.
Yeah. I think
they all wear matching outfits.
Why is everybody in a singlet? That's weird.
Yeah, I actually photographed walkie wrestling for the first
respect
time.
To wrestling, though.
Yeah,
respect to wrestling.
Oh, yeah. Well,
big respect.
It was fun. I forgot how much fun it is. I mean, I come from a small Wyoming town, and wrestling was king. It was a dynasty.
Really?
And we had a kid who made the Olympics. So that's like how big our wrestling was. I mean, it trumped football.
Wow.
And so I just forgot how fun it was to see. But as for my kids, I think they kind of, like Taylor did, he's like, why aren't you saving this credential from the game? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
You've been to so many at points, like you just look at credentials, you're like,
Well, it's just
throw it in a box.
It's not to discount that I don't love what I do, but it's a job, and I really love that job. And when I stop loving it, I'm going to stop doing it.
Yep. So you kind of talked about how you got into it, and you said like, hey, I take photos. What did that then journey? How did it take off, and how did you really get into it then?
So I think I really firmly believe that how I actually got in with CrossFit headquarters was I volunteered one year for the CrossFit Games. Because I knew that I knew that they did not have at that time they had one in-house photographer, and I also wasn't willing to move to California to try to make that happen. Being a younger mother with raising children, I know where my focus is, and being a freelancer gives me the opportunity to kind of pick and choose what I want to work and what I want to do. And I'm grateful in that regard. But I firmly believe that anytime you want to get into a bigger space of CrossFit, that volunteering at one of those events is vital. And the reason why I say that is because I'm sure in your industry, creatives can be kind of challenging.
No, I can't. No.
Mackenzie, the one who's challenged me so much.
They can be kind of challenging to work with because everybody has their own creative idea of how they're going to create or make content. And so the first step is they have to really know that you can work in a team environment, because you're coming from a lot of these photographers who shoot in gyms, and they're able to shoot in a small event the way they want to, and they're going to come in with only that knowledge. So they want to see you can work with a team. And also, a couple of the photographers and I that have worked for CrossFit recently at Wadapalooza, we were talking about how when we were volunteers, and that's how she had got her start too, is that we were just so excited for the opportunity to learn from these people who had been shooting CrossFit content for the last 6 years. That, I'm sure they probably got really tired of us asking questions. Like,
No.
how are you shooting? Why are you shooting? Show me the editing process. Like, I wanted to absorb all that. And that's not necessarily the case nowadays. You have volunteers come in and just don't even, introduce themselves, and they just go and shoot, and they don't want to learn. They expect to come and shoot and just, and I'm not discounting any program who does it that way. It's just that, you have such a great opportunity to learn. And anytime I'm still with other creatives, I want to learn and absorb, because there's probably always a way that I can find, avenues to do my job better, or to be better, or to step my game up.
Yeah.
So
no, definitely. Content creation is taken a turn where you're exactly right. People can come in, they're like, I have this one goal, it's to shoot this one photo, and like, you're coming at it, I want to see their body movement, I want to see all that.
Yeah.
And it's different. I mean, I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong. It's
different. You're right.
It is different.
And that's a good perspective to always think about when you go into an event like that. But I do believe that volunteering is somebody's way to potentially get onto a paid media team. Obviously, a lot of these events can't run without volunteers, and those are vital, and we appreciate them greatly. But volunteering continually also doesn't equate a paycheck. And as you know, in the creative industry, that's one of the biggest struggles we're dealing with right now is creatives being undervalued.
And yes, here, you do this for me for exposure for whatever.
Yeah, exposure is like the worst form of payment.
It's just, no.
There is no form of payment.
And it is not payment.
But it also, and I think I just posted about this, and you might have seen this on my Instagram story, but I also think that leads way to a very significant misrepresentation in the industry. So there's a big difference between shooting at an event versus shooting for an event. Like, when I go to shoot Wadapalooza, I am shooting for Wadapalooza. I shoot the content based on their asset deliverable, and I'm going to still create, but I have a job to do. But just going there is, getting a media pass because they let you, but then using that content. I don't know. I mean, I struggle with that one, because I feel like it misrepresents that you actually didn't work that event. You weren't there as part of the team. You just were fortunate enough to have a pass.
Yeah, you applied for a media pass. You got the media pass, but like, you're not. Your job is specifically to forward Wadapalooza's goals.
Correct.
And the person who just got a media pass is there to forward their own goals using Wadapalooza as the platform.
Correct. Yeah. And I don't know, I am not the media director for Wadapalooza or Loud and Live, and the person who does, she's phenomenal at her job, and the insight I've gained from her and how she develops and helps this team create is unparalleled. Like, you absolutely need that support as a creative, but I think as a creative, it's frustrating to see people who don't understand that it's really about the event and not about yourself.
Yes, definitely.
You're part of a team, and you have to contribute in that way. And so,
I bet you hear a lot. Oh, what you do is so fun. What you do is so fun.
It is, and I'm not ever going to say that it's not. And I will say that I will stop doing it when I no longer still get giddy and smile about some of the movement. But it's also a lot of hard work.
Yes.
I was telling him, 4 days. I was on my feet 64 hours.
Right.
I got 76 miles in.
Oh my gosh.
And that doesn't include, you get back to the hotel at 10:30 or 11, and as well as I do. I mean, what happens when you come home from a football game? It takes probably a good hour and a half for you to kind of decompress, because you're just from that whole atmosphere of Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. I remember. I think for me it was, I covered the Iowa State Penn State game when it was Saquon Barkley was at Kinnick. It was a night game. It was an incredible atmosphere. Like, you just feel the ground pounding from people jumping in the stadium and stuff like that. Awesome. And I had an hour and a half car ride back with my reporter, and I was like,
I'm still shaking.
I'm like, oh. I was like, I am driving so fast right now. but like, that's one of those things, like, especially covering night events too. Like, and this is also well, I'm thankful that I have like a job with a bit more normal hours, is I can actually sleep way better at night. Yeah. Because before working nights, like, I would get home at like 10:30, 11. I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to sleep until 2:30.
Yeah, and
then melatonin comes in.
and that's how events go for us. We work very long days, and then you get back to the hotel, and it's just not easy to go right back to sleep. And then you have early call times. And for me, this year, I had a little bit earlier call times and a than the rest of the team. So there were a couple of days I was in bed at, I finally felt like I was falling asleep. The last time I looked at the clock, it was like 12:08, and my alarm would go off at 4:20.
Oh.
So it's very fun, but it is very hard. Yes. It is a lot of work. You're walking around a campus with 4 different competition floors with 20 pounds of gear, and but you do it because you love it. Yeah. And it's a fun experience. So
I always say that like creativity any job of creativity, it's like a job of peaks and valleys. Like you're going through a lot of valleys, but when you're at the peak, you are feeling great. Like you are like if the finished product of like something you get that one shot. Oh man, that's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah. And a few of us Monday morning, we all slept in, and we had a few hours before we had to go to the airport. And I know my friend Charlotte was with me and Ian, and they're like, no, we don't really. I'm like, promise, we're going to go to Iowa or the Miami Beach, and we're just going to sit there. And so I made them go to the beach and just sit in the sand for 3 hours. Oh my gosh. And they were like, this was so great. I'm like, trust me, I know you just need to completely decompress, because now we're going to get on a plane and it's,
chaos.
Although I will say with events like these bigger events, they're a lot easier because we have editing teams. Whereas my smaller events like Heart of America and the CrossFit Circus, all of the editing is done by me. I think I should hire an editor this year. We have a big event coming up this weekend. Yeah, really big.
What's that? Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so Luke and Abby Ryland, they're the maestros of CrossFit competitions in the Iowa Midwest area. So they put on the CF Circus. This will be their 10th event. They say it's their final one. They've been doing them since 2013. A lot of work. Sometimes they've had them twice a year, but so there'll be a big competition at Ignite in Grimes this weekend.
Okay, is someone from our
so one of our coworkers, Erin, is doing it with a partner. I think she's an intermediate.
Awesome.
She's right over there.
Oh, okay. Yay. All right. Yeah. So my media team and I are getting ready for that. I counted last night because I texted Abby and I said 267 teams, which was a little higher. A little, and it's teams of 2. So it's over 500 athletes, which I said, okay, I might not have the editing done in 3 days this time.
Yeah.
I'm always like,
some miles again.
Usually I actually, after an event, block out a day away from my family. So if I'm at an event where it ends on Sunday night, I'll stay an extra day so that I don't just get home and start editing and ignore my family. Yeah. This time I didn't do that because I'm actually racing right back to another event in Kansas City next weekend. So, and then I streamline off a little bit, but yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a blast.
Very cool.
And it's fun to see somebody here that's going to get to compete. I'll make sure I take a lot of good pictures of your workout faces.
What's your team name, Erin?
Yeah, Erin.
Straight Out of Scaled?
Straight. I love that.
That's good.
it was between that and Cirque du Sore legs, right?
Oh, you should see. We couldn't say it. I printed off the list of names last night. It's there are some that are pretty ingenious. I love it. I mean, some that are not appropriate for a podcast, but some.
No, that's the best part of like a CrossFit competition, especially teams, like the creativity. That people have with some of their team names.
Oh yeah, and you saw that yesterday. She put a post up about. Best dressed, like they're dressed up in circus gear. And let me just tell you, I bought her some really epic socks because Abby always dresses up kind of as a ringmaster. I bought her some really fabulous socks, and I hope she wears them. But yeah, they run an event that's just amazing. It's, you're always going to have hiccups, but I feel like they deal with that in such a professional manner. Even when it's behind schedule, they have a very good crew that work for them. And I'll tell you, I'm just really grateful for them because, Luke and Abby really gave me the ability to create a media team and trust me with their content and the way and to represent their event in a manner that shows their professionalism and their dedication to creating something that is community and camaraderie based. And so I love it. I mean, I love it, and I'm grateful for them for the opportunities they've given me because I feel like they've been a really good outlet, but also a belief that women can do this.
Oh yes,
that's a big issue.
It is a big issue. Yes, it is. So I love to see badass women like yourself out here just doing what you love, and even how you got started. I think that is so cool, and then you worked your way. I mean, your passions really came together, and I think anytime that can happen for someone, that's amazing. And yeah, sorry, it's better because she's a woman. So it just makes it that much better. But yeah, it's obvious that you love what you do. And that's one of our core values here. So we think that's awesome. It's clear you love what you do. Your Instagram page itself represents that. So I think we're going to do a little rapid fire here.
So I didn't tell you about this
great.
for a specific reason. No, so as creatives looking through the lens, I think we always have that feeling of like, the minute you take a shot or the minute you're like looking through the viewfinder or the screen, you're just, and you have a great shot, you're like, whoa, and I went through your Instagram page. I didn't pick out like your top photos.
Right.
I picked out the photos that I wanted to know more about.
Okay, great.
Right. And so what I want, I'm going to bring up the photo and we'll bring it up on screen in the edit.
And let me just do a disclaimer. I'm not a big fan of like Instagram in general. I get its purpose. So I put what I want to put on there that really resonates with me. I mean, as you know, I don't care about followers. I don't care about likes. I'm going to share what I felt in the moment, and that's how I create content.
Yeah.
So that's how I
No,
share it.
Yeah, and it's this way of storytelling. So I have a couple shots
Okay.
here. So first shot, to camera. All right.
Oh, that's a good
We
one.
have Breece Hall hugging Matt Campbell,
Yeah.
which is such a genuine moment. Like, when you snapped that photo and you looked at, like, hit the play button, looked at the selects, you were like, whoa.
Well, let me just say that prior to that shot, Luke Liu, who's the athletic photographer for Iowa State, had asked me to hold his camera, and because he was on the back side of the field, and he asked me to take close-ups of Coach Campbell with all of the seniors. And so I did that for him, and I was crying because he was crying.
Oh.
And to me, that genuine connection with your athlete speaks a lot about him as a coach. And I'm sure he gets frustrated, and I'm sure he has his weaknesses, but I've been doing this a long time. I don't think I've ever seen a coach cry. I really can honestly say I don't. So that, and I think you were there. You were there too. Yeah. So, I mean, that touches me. And so that, I knew in that moment it was, and I'm sure everybody else there got that shot too, but it was just more a post about him as what I saw. Like, I saw the connection and the love that he has for the person before the athlete. Right. At least that's what my impression was.
You saw him before the picture was taken, and you saw his face after the picture. You saw the whole thing. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what that was. Is just when he hugged him, he really meant it. Oh. It wasn't just for show.
Yeah. All right. Next photo.
Oh, the one for CrossFit Games. So that's we call him Boz. So
yeah, Adrian Bosman.
So he has been the head judge for the CrossFit Games since its inception, and I specifically framed that one with everybody at the finish line. So this was getting close to the point where the last heats of the individuals were going. So, we have the big competition between the men and the women. And I just remember him standing there looking and just focusing on the finish line. And I wanted that shot because he has so much pressure on him, or at least I think he has a ton of pressure, because anytime there's a discrepancy or there's inconsistency, that falls on him. That's his sole responsibility. And so I just loved showing, so my bosses at the CrossFit Games, Emily O'Hearn and then Jonathan Haynes, Jonathan had asked me to submit a few photos that really stood out to me, and then to write a quote, which we've never been asked to do before.
Oh, really?
And so I came out with what I said on that post, and the stakes were very high because there was a lot of teams and individuals that were really close. So that point in time when he was overseeing all the judges was vital. But I just loved how he was looking over his what he's done.
Kingdom.
His domain is that
It
playing
is.
ground, like that field of play, and then just thousands of people in the Coliseum in Madison.
And he wasn't even, and what's fun to watch about him, or anybody who's kind of in those leadership roles, especially at the CrossFit Games, is they're very focused on, they know everything else that's going on around them, but they're focused on the things that they need to control, or that they have oversight on. And that's it's really fun to watch him, because he'll walk around and he'll pinpoint something despite all the distractions that needs to change. And I don't know, I've always admired his ability to just be focused because it was loud. I don't know if you've ever been to the CrossFit
No, that's
games.
my goal one day is to go, whether it's as a spectator or like on a media team or just
Yeah.
getting a pass or
Volunteer
something.
one year.
I know,
mean,
I
Oh,
need
did
to.
you learn nothing? Volunteer?
volunteer. I mean, they always take volunteers
Yeah.
for video, and then you could, work with some of the
For sure.
some of the people who churn out just some amazing content. But yeah, so I loved that picture.
Next photo.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah. So powerlifting.
This one specifically, I wanted to know because I don't know why. Whenever I shoot sports or anything, and especially like powerlifting or anybody doing lifts, I love seeing pain faces.
Yeah.
It's because the thing about that is like that dude screaming. That's primal.
Yeah.
Like that's our most basic human like urges and wants at that single moment
yeah.
right there.
So this was for USA Powerlifting, and this was for their this was for the high school nationals. So that was kind of something fun and different to shoot. That you have all these high school athletes participating in powerlifting and going to these national events where they can try to achieve record breaking numbers. And so this was just him. And traditionally, if this was a CrossFit shot, that would have never made the final cut. And the reason why is because it's not a succession of images and it's incomplete form. So he's not below parallel and he's not straight up. But so that's that's a whole nother component to photography is what you're sharing, the type of content you're sharing. But I love how he was really struggling to get to the top of that lift. So that just shows, perseverance. I love things that show strength and perseverance and just, I am going to make it through this.
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right, next one. This is a fun shot.
That's actually the worst part about that is that's actually a phone shot of the back of my camera, which I should never ever do. But Noah Olsen, he is, he and the Panchecks are probably the kindest people on a CrossFit floor. He is always the last man to leave the floor because he's shaking people's hands and he'll joke. Like this was, just leading up to I don't know if he was just warming up and getting wet. I think this was actually before they had said go, before they started, and he just grabbed a whole bunch of seaweed because the entry into
was this when games were at Carson or was this?
This is in Madison.
Oh, this is in Madison. Okay.
So I think this was 2019. So, this was the year that we all got fired. So they didn't have an official media team. So I was there shooting as for a company. And so, but he just happened to, and I'm very restrictive on respective use. And so I only really photographed, but I said, hey, Noah, can I take this shot? And I'll send it to you. And he's like, yeah. So I wanted permission. I will never share an athlete's picture that I didn't have permission by them. Because even though the CrossFit Games contract gave you that permission to photograph or share 50 images or something, I don't believe in doing that because I'm a big fan of representing myself in an accurate manner. So, but he did that to me and he was just playing around and I said, okay, can I share this? And he's like, yeah. So that's why I just kind of did a screenshot and then I sent it to him. But yeah, I love people who can play and have fun right before he gets ready to go in and, set his mark. Cause at that point he was still leading.
Yeah.
So,
that was a crazy year.
yeah, it was. But he is such an example because like I said, he always has a smile. He always is shaking people's hands and getting involved with the crowd. And I love that. I love when people have, they might be an elite athlete, but they can remember that. And this is one of the things that is probably different too, is I think sometimes when people get to an elite level of athleticism, they forget that the 50,000 people in the crowd are what got them there. And I know that you don't have 4 hours a day to devote to, but if it's those little moments that really make a difference.
Just the acknowledgement.
The acknowledgement. Yes. Yeah, like the players at ISU after that game, a few went to those kids sitting on the corner and just handing them, whether bracelets or gloves or something. And I'm like, that, you might not think that matters, but it does.
That's one of those things like people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. And to those little kids that when they got to go to school on Monday and be like, I got bracelets, things like that matter. And to me as a photographer, I'm going to appreciate and share those moments more than I am, the other things. Because again, you are letting people know that you are grateful that they've supported your ability to get to this level and achieve success at this level. So,
all right, next one. This is this is from the same year. This is storytelling at its finest.
Yeah. Pancheck and Frasier just waiting to.
So Mackenzie, for you, for context, this guy, Matt Frasier,
Okay.
all right, 5-time GOAT, all right? Like, he's won the games 5 times in a row. Nobody's ever done it before.
Okay.
And he is, like, every other time at the games, he's leading. He's dusting everybody.
Okay.
But this is going to, like, what, day 2, end of day 2, I think? And he is, like, behind.
Yeah, he was behind at this point because Noah Olsen was leading.
And so this guy, Scott Pancheck, another, like, longtime veteran, they're in a liftoff at this point.
Yeah.
And, like...
And the win was vital. It really was, I think, if I were to look back, I'm pretty sure that the win on Frasier's part was instrumental in him getting back to being a leader. But they were just both sitting there getting ready, and they, focus on point.
Yeah.
And I love moments like that because it shows the serious side of it too. Like, I think, you go there for the entertainment value and to cheer on your favorite person, but people also don't understand the time and effort that Frasier and Pancheck put in every day at the gym to get to this level. The sacrifices that are made. And, I think some of the things that Frasier said when he announced his retirement is like, gosh, I want to be able to, just do things with my wife,
Right.
I mean, and people just don't understand that level of athlete, it does require a significant sacrifice. And so I love that shot too, just because it was time. It was the only thing that mattered at that time was focus.
It looked like a lion circling the cages, ready to pounce. Like,
and he went out there and
just the
pounced.
intensity of everything was insane.
Yeah, well, if you've ever watched him in interviews, Frasier is. I love him. He's honest. He's poignant, and he's point blank. And he's gonna say, "I'm not gonna lose." And I loved that attitude.
Yeah. All right, and this will be our last one here.
Okay. Ooh,
This is a local woman.
Yeah,
now.
a pregnant mama.
Wow.
So one of the misconceptions that I think is hardest to deal with as a photographer, because you always see comments, right, on social media pages. And I love anytime, especially women in lifting weights. And I love seeing the ability of somebody who's pregnant still able to accomplish things. I think that for a long time there was this misconception that just because you're pregnant you can't achieve high levels of weightlifting or athleticism, and we're seeing more women take a stand that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like you said, our bodies are made. I mean, think about it. Women had to run from tigers.
Real hunter-gatherer shit, all right?
I mean, we can do some shit.
I love your coworkers are laughing over there.
It's
Run
true.
from tigers.
Don't laugh at me. It's true. I mean, think about it.
It is. I mean,
Yeah, it's some primal stuff, all right?
Hang from some trees and shit. I don't know.
I don't know. Let me just tell you, I've been around a few pregnant women in CrossFit, and they're never stronger than they are when they're pregnant and lifting. And they also have generally better labors. I don't know. But so I love that picture just because she is highlighting being strong and being pregnant, and then it's okay to do both. It's okay to be a mom, and it's okay to be strong, and it's okay to be a woman who's carrying a baby and be strong.
Yep.
So
Very
yeah,
cool.
I love
that one.
anytime I can highlight a woman in this capacity, I'm going to.
Yeah. I was in a boot camp class years ago, and there was a woman. She was doing everything. She didn't modify any of the moves. She did it until the day she gave birth, and I was like, she's a badass.
I was only a runner when I was pregnant, but I was running 6 miles a day.
That's incredible.
Up until I was 39 weeks, but I also gained a lot of weight. So about that last,
man.
I gained 50 pounds with each of my pregnancies over.
yeah.
And so that last week was just, okay, I'm not running. I can't do it anymore. So then I walked.
Nobody's going to fault you for that, okay, Ginny?
Just like,
Nobody's here like, hey, come
how
on.
dare you not run when
you
you're
sure?
39
Oh
weeks
my
pregnant? So I mean, I
gosh.
walked, but I figured it I remember it at the 39 weeks, but I'm like, okay, I don't think I can run anymore. I think I'm done.
Well,
But yeah.
No, Ginny, this has been a great chat to end it off on a happy note. For the creatives out there, aspiring photographers, anybody out there, what would be like 2 pieces of advice that you would give somebody who's trying to figure out this creative landscape that you're in?
I would say learn from your peers would be my first one. Ask for advice, ask to shoot with other people, ask for internships or opportunities to volunteer, and learn and hone in on the type of craft that you want to create and how you want to create. I don't think very many people go into it just deciding they know how they're going to shoot and how they're going to shoot, and they stick that way for the rest of their life. You have to learn and adapt. And then the second one to go along with that, which also kind of conflicts with it, is don't start out devaluing yourself or misrepresenting yourself. I probably can't reiterate that enough because, you know, we talked about it earlier, but there's a big issue in the creative industry about being paid what you're worth. And I think that there's a couple opportunities you take to try to build your portfolio, but after that, you've got to work for money. You can't just keep working for free, because you hurt other creatives in the industry too.
Yep. You're right.
And you might not think you do, but you do, because there'll be a point when you really need money to survive. And so that's what I would say. I'd say learn, hone, develop, you know, take opportunities, decide at what point, you know, you're going to start your own business, and then value yourself from the get-go when you have that experience.
Love it.
So
That's great advice.
Love it.
yeah.
Ginny, so happy to have brought you in.
Well,
You were my
thank you.
first guest of the new year.
Oh, well, thanks.
right.
And I'm so happy that we had this conversation, that this is an awesome podcast. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm
for
a little
being here.
jealous you didn't ask me who I was jealous
Well,
of.
who are you jealous of then?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know. No, I think, so for me, I think jealousy is, we talked about this a little bit. I think jealousy is more of a target for me to see how I need to do better.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that I'm jealous of other people, because I try not to let that bother me. I like to admire other people and find ways that I can implement what they're doing to my creativity. But I guess today I would say I'm really jealous of the people who live where it's 75 degrees year round.
Oh my gosh. What was it when we woke up this morning?
It was 6 below.
Yeah, it was like,
What
it was
feels like
-6.
18 below.
I took my dogs
That's what
out.
it
I
was.
took my dogs out, and I'm like, damn it.
It is, and it's every year for the CF circus. That's the problem, is every stinking year it is cold as crud. And, you know, they're loading a whole gym onto a truck, then unloading it, then reloading it, then unloading it again.
It's always like that. It's like you're going to have cold weather during the circus. The Drake relays are always full of rain, and there's no in between.
Yeah, how do I get that gig? Yeah.
Hey, goals. I got goals. We love it.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you for being here. This
Well,
was
thank you
great.
so much. It
Yes.
was fun.
Yes, and it's good. It's good for people like me. It's good for other people in the office to hear that CrossFit's maybe not just a cult. So
Well, I don't know.
No, I mean, two things can be true. It's a cult, but it's great.
okay,
Yeah.
it's a quiz. So.
I think, you know, I think every fitness modality, people are going to find the one that works for them.
Yeah.
I personally feel that CrossFit would work for everybody, but I get that it doesn't too.
Yeah.
But I mean, so if it's a boot camp that you love, just keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.